Thank you so much for watching. Before we get into it today, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment. Now let's get into it. And we're live. Francis Ellis, part 2. Thank you so much for coming in again, because it really does mean the world, and I'm just happy to see you on a personal level.
It's great to see you, Felix, and I'm glad that you're wearing a turtleneck, because that is exactly how I picture you.
I think I might have worn a different turtleneck last time.
I've only ever seen you in turtlenecks.
Okay. Well, if we ever go part 3, I'll wear something else.
No. I would be, at this point, disappointed if you didn't show up wearing a turtleneck.
What do you think about if I went with like a white turtleneck next time?
That's fine. Dude, I think you're one of those people who can actually pull it off, and you're not going to be, seen as a dick for it. If I wear a turtleneck, people get mad.
People are going to say, really?
Yeah, they get mad at me. They think I'm trying to tell them something. I don't even know what it would be, but
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But all right. But what I like to do, as my listeners know, is to ask my guests if there's a tidbit, little story, little something that the world doesn't know about my guest. This is your second time here, but I'm sure there's still a little something. I told you before, and you told me you had a little nugget for me.
I have a kind of a fun story, and the only reason that this is top of mind is because I told it at a very small dinner party last night, just 6 people. By the way, I find that I find it necessary to quantify the gatherings that I go to when I reference them.
Yeah.
And say it was just this small of a group. As if, if I said 15 or whatever, people would shame me.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there like a limit, do you think?
Well, I think people harken back to when the 10-person limit was imposed, and there's probably some sort of unspoken memory, at least, that is the limit for the amount of indoor people that should be at a gathering.
I think it's weird that originally, I don't know if you remember, I think it was 25.
It shifted a bunch.
It shifted.
At one point it was 50, and then it went to 25, and now then it was 10. And I think we're back at that place. We're back at 10, even if people haven't said that.
So you had
yet.
a COVID-friendly little gathering of 6 under the limit.
And it's also in my new neighborhood. I just moved to Dumbo, and 2 of my best friends live within 50 yards of me. Oh, so we are within each other's sphere of friendship, meaning we have contact with them on a regular basis. That's like our friendship bubble. So we see each other all the time, but we try not to see other people that much.
Was the move in particular, was it in large part because you had those 2 very close friends?
Honestly,
nearby?
When we found this apartment, it did not occur to us. At that point, only one of my friends lived as close as he did, and it didn't occur to me when we found the apartment how close it was. And then the other couple moved in the day before we moved in. So at the time when we found the apartment, they had not seen theirs yet. So it was very coincidental. And now we've got this insane colony of friendship on our street. It's like college, dude. It's amazing.
And that's nice, especially Dumbo. But I have something for you. Because of the move, I wanted you to debut your move.
What the hell?
To debut your move in a little celebration.
So much. This is so kind.
This is. I hope that you're with your girlfriend. You
yeah.
Well,
She'll love this.
I hope you guys.
She has a drinking problem, so she'll be thrilled.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's so kind of you.
I appreciate you coming back on.
Let me tell you something. I have done. I don't even know how many fucking. Can we swear on this podcast?
Yes, of course.
Podcasts in my life. I've been asked on so many, and I was saying to Felix before we began that I don't like to come back and do someone's podcast again unless it's like Andrew Schultz's someone who's just a megastar, which is very selfish. But I immediately agreed to do yours, or maybe it took me a bit. But
no, you did.
Yeah, because
I think you're in the middle of your move. You're busy.
Because you're the real deal, man.
I appreciate that.
You prepare. You are timely, you're professional, and you ask very informed questions. You remind me of the guy who runs the Hot Ones show, Sean something. You know the Hot Wings like tasting show?
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember.
What's his name?
What is it? Edmonds? Evans. Sean Evans. Yes, from Complex.
Okay.
And everyone cites him as being the best interviewer kind of on the internet. His questions blow people away. And you're like that. So I think you're going to do very well.
That means a lot. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't just bring a guest in and then hope that they kind of blow everyone away.
I'm not here to, hopefully, none of my guests have ever felt like I'm there to waste their time.
No. But I'll tell you this interesting tidbit because I told this at this dinner party last night. So I, I think it was June, I received a phone call from Ellen DeGeneres.
Straight from her, not her producer.
No. And here's how, that's what happened. And now I'll fill you in.
Well, now I need to know.
Because there's a roller coaster here that is worth riding. So, all right, when I got fired from Barstool,
right, I remember that.
I put out my apology statement on Twitter, sort of explaining why I had done what I did and my mistake and apologizing for it. And one of the highest profile people to sort of come to my aid and sort of forgive me and say, like, you're going to be fine, was Ellen DeGeneres' producer, Andy Lassner.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a pretty big personality. Right. He's got, 600,000 followers on Twitter. He's verified and all of that. He's a known guy. And so he retweeted my apology statement and said something very kind, like, I hadn't heard of you until today. Her story is tragic, the girl that I'd written about who passed away. Clearly you made a mistake. I don't think you're a bad guy. The mob will come after you. It will pass. I send you my love, like, good luck. And it meant really a lot to me.
Yeah.
Because that was a very dark day for me. And that here was finally somebody, as Batman says to Commissioner Gordon at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, a hero can be someone reaching out and just letting you know that their world hasn't ended. Right. I love that quote. Anyway, so Andy Lassner was my Commissioner Gordon in that tough moment for me. And I always, as a result, had a very high opinion of Ellen DeGeneres. I've always liked her. Right. She's an amazing stand-up and a trailblazing pioneer, mega celebrity, whatever. So fast forward to when all those stories started coming out about her this summer, about how, it was the early stuff before the toxic workplace, before the microaggressions and the sexual misconduct or the harassment from some of the producers and things like that. And so at this point in the summer, it was really just that Ellen was not as nice of a person as people perceived her to be. And all these former staff writers were coming out with these stories about her. And I was reading them, and I ended up writing a blog where I said basically, like, one of the stories was that her bodyguard, who had worked for her at the Oscars, went to the New York Post and was like, yeah, I have a story about Ellen. When I, protected her at the Oscars, she never looked me in the eye. She never asked me my name. She was cold to me. And it was like, classic Ellen, this entitled bitch. And it's like, I wrote this blog being like, what fucking pussy bodyguard needs their employer to know their name? This is why we only need to hire bodyguards from Israel. They don't, former Mossad agents don't expect you to make eye contact with them. Like, how soft is this bodyguard? This is pathetic. And it kind of like pissed me off. And then there was another story about how when the iPhone had come out, Steve Jobs sent her one as a gift, and she texted him back saying that she thought that the font was too small to read on the screen. And everyone was like, well, how entitled is Ellen that she would just text Steve Jobs after getting a free iPhone? And I'm like, Steve Jobs is her friend, right?
He was probably happy that she told her.
Dude, not only that, but like, think about your friend who has a startup company and he sends you a new pair of his like microfiber athletic shorts, right? And you text him and you're like, yo, the shorts are sick. Like, I wish the pockets were a little deeper. Steve Jobs and Apple, that is Ellen's friend who started a company. That's the level she's at, right? So her texting him that is just them operating. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that's that's on par with who she is.
Right.
Meanwhile, everyone was like, how of course she thought she could just say that to Steve Jobs. And it's like, well, she should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wrote another one of that. And I imagined this very, like, I made up this imagined dialogue between them. And that night, Andy Lassner, Ellen's producer.
And to interrupt you, you wrote that on, is it
Bro Bible? Yeah. He DM'd me on Twitter and he was like, we have shown Ellen saw your blogs. She thought they were very funny. They gave her such a lift and she's been so sad in this rough time because all these stories were just starting to come out and everyone was just shitting on her and enjoying piling on. That's the way the entertainment industry works. And he was like, thank you so much. What's your phone number? She's going to give you a call tomorrow, but she wants it to be a surprise. So you have to act like you didn't know that it was happening. And I was like, oh my God, no way. So I gave him my phone number. And then the next morning, I'm up in Maine, right? In this little cabin, just sitting in this fucking cabin. And I get a phone call from an unknown number and I pick it up, unlisted number. And I picked it up and she goes, is this Francis Ellis? And I was like, it is. She goes, this is Ellen DeGeneres. And I was like, hi, Ellen DeGeneres. How are you? And frankly, I was glad that I'd been tipped off because she's such a recognizable voice and such a big deal that I would not have kept my shit together had I not known. Now, we then talked for half an hour about how to handle internet hate and trolls. And I was sort of advising her based on my experience at Barstool and how I've been, fending off trolls for years, how to disregard it and sort of framing it for her. And she was like, I just don't get why anyone would say these things. It's not how I'm wired. I don't attack people. And I was like, they're bored. The internet's bored. They're just coming after you. They want their pound of flesh. And then they're going to move on to the next one. She was like, so wise, just like your writing. And I was like, you're so sweet, Ellen. And we had this great conversation. And at the end of it, she was like, I really like your writing. We would love to work with you. Like, is there any chance that you might consider coming to write for the show? And I was like, oh my God, it'd be amazing. She goes, I'm going to put you in touch with our head writer. Now, I can't remember what his name is, but there's a reason that I'm telling you this. And I'm almost done with the story, I promise.
No. I love the story.
I didn't think anything of it. I thought that she was just being nice and paying lip service to it. But that night, I got a voicemail from Ellen DeGeneres' head writer. I wish I knew his name. I can't remember his name. And he left me a long voicemail. The next day, I connected with him on the phone, and we talked for a while about, what a potential job at writing at Ellen would look like, or if it was a better fit for me to come try to produce something with them on EllenTube, her digital platform, or to work on her game show, Game of Games. And we were just talking about like a potential way for me to work with them. And I was so excited about this. I swear to God, 1 week after I got off the phone with that guy, the head writer at the Ellen DeGeneres show, he got Me Too'd by male like interns and staff writers at the Ellen DeGeneres show for having like groped their penises, kissed their necks. He's gay and got fired off the show. And that was like the ultimate straw that crumbled the entire vision. And that's when they like cleaned house. And he was the guy like leading the toxicity.
Wow.
And then I couldn't really tell people this story anymore because I was so proud to have heard from Ellen and to have received this validation. And then all of a sudden it was like I had been, validated by this horrific group of like fucking people. I didn't know I couldn't brag about it.
Well, it doesn't take away from what you did or, the way they saw you.
I guess, dude, like, and I hate to make this comparison, but imagine that like before Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement, like a week before. Harvey Weinstein had called you and he was like, I love your student film that you made. You know, we want to work with you. And you're like, this is a huge break. This is the highest profile person who has ever co-signed on my work.
Right.
And then a week later, they just like went down in flames.
Okay, now then what, have you been in contact with them since?
Not really, dude. Like what am I supposed to, first
Andy?
So I mean, my first thought would be that given everything that happened to them, they couldn't hire me anymore. Given my somewhat toxic background, having, you know, been fired from Barstool and all of that.
Yeah, but if someone,
they need to hire they need to hire the squeakiest, cleanest people.
Yeah, but then that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe a little bit less. Maybe
they can't take a flyer on a straight white male like me. With a slightly toxic background. Yeah, they can't. They could take a flyer on, you know, the indigenous lesbian with, you know, transgender person from foreign country or whatever.
So you haven't had any contact with them since? You haven't reached out to Andy? Or
I think I messaged Andy once shit started to really get worse. And by the way, I still like stand by Ellen. I don't really care. I'm sorry. Like, I understand she's not as nice as people thought. Whoop-de fucking-do. You're finding out that a person in entertainment who goes on and entertains on a talk show every single day.
30 years.
That it's somewhat of a performance and that behind the scenes she's not. Are you fucking kidding? Grow up, Peter Pan. Like, you know, why are you surprised? David Letterman notoriously was crotchety and mean to his staff. He was having affairs with people and people still loved him. You know, it's like, I hate that we feel duped when we find out that people aren't who they say they were.
Or aren't perfect.
You think Elon Musk is out there handing out secret Santa gifts to all of his Tesla staffers? Do you know how hard it is to probably work at Tesla under that guy? Because that guy is tireless, right?
He just became the richest man in the world.
I saw that. I don't even, it's crazy.
What the fuck?
I mean, their stock is just nuts.
I know. But wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, that must have at least felt good for you. Well, I mean, like.
When I got the phone call, I got off the phone and then ran down to my girlfriend and was legitimately screaming in joy, like a giddy child. I couldn't believe it. You know, Ellen is, I would say, as far as like stand-up comics go, she's up there with, I would say she's like the Jerry Seinfeld of women comics. She's at that level-ish.
If you can be recognized by your first name, you are a legend.
Dude, she's like, it's Oprah, Ellen, Kobe, Seinfeld. Yeah. People, one-name people. Sting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, but at least did that give you perhaps a little bit, even after the cancellation of his groping producer, did it give you the motivation or the, you know, the confirmation that you've got the goods?
I think that was a moment for me where I started to realize that for all the difficulty I've had, and we were alluding to this earlier, you know, the glacial progression that I've seen in my career from a stand-up perspective, my writing was actually catching the eyes of bigger people. And it felt like that was a better place to focus. And it might have been that phone call was the beginning of a transition of where I was going to spend the majority of my time for the next like 5 or 6 months leading to today.
So because we touched on it very briefly off air, and I wanted to get into it because it sounded, I was very curious when you kind of dropped it before we got on air. You said, I don't even know I think exactly word for word, but it was basically like perhaps, and I don't know if it was a doubt with regards to your comedy, but realizing that there were other paths that were bringing your career maybe to a place you want it to be. I'll let you kind of,
I guess, yeah. So
formulate it.
I've always loved stand-up comedy, and I always dreamed that was the vision, right? You see yourself holding a microphone on stage, and that seems very sexy and glamorous. But I was realistic enough when I decided to attack comedy to know that there were various roads in here through, improv, writing, sketch writing, acting, and stand-up. There's all kinds of disciplines within the broader cheesecake of comedy. So I was always attacking all of those, but I was definitely spending probably the most amount of time on stand-up because you have to.
Right.
You got to be up 5-6 nights a week doing 2 sets a night. You got to try to keep pace with the Mark Normans, the Sam Morills. You'll never match their hustle, but you got to be, trying.
Right.
And I was getting better. I was in a good place. I was headlining on the road, all this stuff and, getting people out, and I could feel myself getting stronger. But the progression in stand-up was just it was like an inch at a time. 1 year to the next, you're 5% better. You're not making like leaps and bounds. And anyone would tell you that. Bill Burr, it took him 15 years, he says, before he got it. Louis C.K., same deal. And so I was on board with that. I was 10 years in, or I'm 10 years in now. And then COVID happened, and all of a sudden, stand-up stages went dark.
Right.
And I was sort of left to my keyboard and broader projects and different disciplines. And all of a sudden, with much less effort, those ideas that I was generating were catching much more momentum. It felt than anything I had done in stand-up.
When you say you felt that, was it because of the people reaching? You felt like it was reaching a bigger audience. People were reaching out saying they liked it. What was that feeling?
It's more like companies, production companies, studios saying, "Whoa, we really like this. Let's develop this." And you start to get real names signing on to the stuff you're coming up with. Right. I was never somebody who would walk into a comedy club and have Lorne Michaels in the audience discover me. That never happened. Whereas, you had the Ellen thing, just a little blog that I wrote defending her, and she liked my tone. Or, so I had an idea for a TV show, which now I'm developing with a pretty a studio that I would never have thought would be interested in my work, at least not for another 15 years.
Wow.
So there are things happening that almost make me wonder how much farther along would I be had I toned back the stand-up earlier and focused more on the writing element, because clearly this is where I'm better.
And so there's one thing that I want to maybe ask right now. I listened to over the summer, and then I re-listened to it yesterday. I believe it is episode 128.
Oh gosh.
I got the episode down because I wanted people, if they wanted to listen to it, because I felt like it was timeless in the messages within this episode of Oops, the podcast, which is your podcast with Giulio Gallerati.
Yeah.
I believe it's the one where you're opening up a little bit with regards to mental health and stuff like that. And because I also read an article that was basically quoting that episode. And for people that haven't listened to it or haven't read the article, it was basically you saying, look, this is what I'm going through. I'm opening up about it with Giulio, who's probably one of your best friends at this point. And it was a very interesting angle towards mental health. Now, I want to talk about that in a second, but were all these things playing into that at that time?
Dude, it's so funny you say that. I think that episode, we recorded that, and then the Ellen thing happened 2 days later.
Wow.
And I was in a pretty sad, I was just feeling like so many people were. I was feeling so beaten down by COVID. I was feeling marooned. I was up in the woods of Maine with my family and my girlfriend, which was, thank God, but, hadn't seen my friends in months. Was really missing stand-up for whatever I just said. You know, at that point, I hadn't come to the terms that I'm at now. And I just felt like a huge part of my career had been ripped out.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like COVID was ever going to end.
Yeah.
There was no talk of when a vaccine might come around, and we didn't know. So I just sort of said, like, this is how I feel right now. And unfortunately, mental health issues are so ubiquitous among creatives and especially the comedy world. And I think that a lot of comics have talk about it in a very glib fashion, as if it's like a badge to wear. Like, look, I'm one of us because I hate myself. You know, you can't be a serious comic unless you consider suicide. Oh, he's one of us. He hates himself too, right? And I'm tired of that, you know, like, because there are ways to talk about it where you can be more encouraging about it and helpful than just being another person who's like, we're all going through this together. You know, you're not alone. Like, I think that's a helpful thought in a way, but there are additional helpful thoughts of like, this is what I'm going through and this is how I'm trying to fucking fix it, and being proactive about staving off these spiraling sessions I go through.
Well, I think also what I thought was super interesting about that episode, and what the article talked about as well, was what your girlfriend told you to kind of snap you out of it, if you will. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's the exact quote.
And it's so funny you say this, because her words resonated with so many people. I got so many messages about what she had said, and not just from people suffering, you know, from depression themselves, but also people dating people with depression. And they were like, I'd never heard someone say that. And I you know, where can I find more of the information that your girlfriend used to get that? And what she said was, you know, in a particularly rough moment where I was just very withdrawn and like telling her that I didn't understand how to like move forward, she grabbed my hands, and we were standing in the kitchen, and I remember, and she like kind of shook me, and she said, "You're too smart to let these thoughts win." And it was like just an amazing light bulb moment for me that reframed the thoughts I was having as an irrational opponent. And it stirred this like competitive, I'm a competitive person. I played sports my whole life. All of a sudden I saw it as like an opponent instead of just being this intrinsic part of me. And and then I was like, all right, now I can take steps to actually like work against this. How can I beat this? How can I fight it?
And I think that's important too, because, well, also that's a pretty amazing girlfriend, because she knows you, and she knows what that's gonna say that's gonna turn you on a little, like get you there. Right. And I think also, I mean, first of all, I relate to even that quote that she said. I think that's a powerful one for everyone out there. But the fact that she knows to make it almost like a competition, or to make it to turn, because you have that lacrosse background and you played lacrosse at the highest level for a long time, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, no, I mean, it was it definitely reminded me just how aware and smart she is, and I was so grateful to have a partner who knows me that well. And I can't say that her intention in saying that was to stir the competitive feelings that I had or whatever. Whatever it was the first thing I'd heard that like totally changed the way that I viewed my own feelings. What did you say right after? You know? Do you remember? I don't really remember. I kind of just let her talk because she seemed to have the ball pretty well at that moment. But that was the thing that really stuck out to me. And then I started saying, all right, well, if depression or self-loathing are
is just this, it has its own form, and I could see it as something to combat, then as an athlete, like what were the steps that I would take if I, as we were preparing to play some other team and we would scout them, like what were the necessary things we would do? I was like, all right, exercise obviously is, to me, the single most useful way to combat depression. That's always been my way. And I am religious about exercising. Eating well, getting to bed early, less screen time, corresponding with my parents every day, trying to wake up in the morning and just quickly go through 3 things in your head that you're happy about and grateful for. Rolling on the floor with the dog, just carving out time to do these undeniably positive things. And I guess that, and then reading too, there were things that I just looked at in the same way that like a basketball player might say, I need to spend half an hour working on ball handling, half an hour working on free throws, half an hour working on, my elbow jump shots. Like those, I charted out basically a workout plan to beat the thoughts.
Well, it's also, it seems like you went back to your roots and what worked and what you knew was good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I have always tried to be very disciplined about those things I just listed, but now, actually seeing them as like a legitimate recipe for fighting this opponent, these thoughts, that weren't my own, right? They were just polluting thoughts that I didn't want to have. Right. And, was a piece of my brain that had kind of just malfunctioned, basically. These were the pieces that I could use to sort of ward them off. And listen, I've had those thoughts again. I certainly have. But to be able to say like, I'm having that thought, go for a fucking run, dude. Or just go walk outside and like get some sunshine. Mm-hmm. You've got an aspirin in a way to take, right, to sort of like nip it in the bud, as opposed to my old problem was that thought would begin and then I would let it really dig in. I would really let it fester and grow roots and allow, spiral, and then kind of just affect my entire day.
Did people reach out after that episode of the podcast with, saying, I don't know, a host of things to you?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people were very grateful that I had shared that, but they were also just like, I think, as you said, what my girlfriend had said struck such a chord with so many people because people hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that she's like the first person to ever say that, but a lot of people hadn't heard it that way. And I was glad to sort of bring her new angle to things.
Well, I think it's also important because you're, I think people look at you as a comedian, as a smart man in general. But I think for a smart comedian male to talk about mental health in that light and not in like the victim mentality, not like, that I think was refreshing. Mm-hmm. Because I think oftentimes it's like, as you said, like some comedians, and I think we can think of a lot of the same ones, they wear it as a badge of victimhood, of, I have, depression and this is my brand of comedy. I think that the fact that you came out and said it the way you did resonated with me, and that's why I remembered the episode number, and that's why I urge you after this to go check it out and check out that article that I believe I think it was like D. Marge or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's, in a lot of ways, timeless. And I think that even if it was recorded 4 or 5 months ago, there's a lot of really cool lessons. And the last 10 minutes, I think, is talking about dick jokes or something like that you received, which was also entertaining. But it's a great episode, so I think people should listen to that. But
thank you.
What is I was curious. So you said 2 days after that you get the Ellen call. Yeah. Then a week after that you find out that guy gets canceled.
Yeah.
Are you?
I can't. It might have been a little bit longer after that, but I can't remember exactly. Can you look up? Any chance that you can look up
his name?
the name of the head writer at Ellen who got in trouble, because I don't want to go forward without having the proper info. Yeah, Kevin Lehman. Yeah, that's the guy who called me. Dude, that's the guy.
Holy shit.
He was the head writer at the show. And we were talking about potentially a life-changing job opportunity for me.
But was that crushing when
No, because
it didn't work out?
Because I wasn't necessarily sure that that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
It would have meant moving to Los Angeles, which I didn't really want to do, and becoming a staff writer on a daytime talk show, which, and not to mention, even the head writer, Kevin Lehman, was like, just so you know, we've hired stand-ups in the past, but it hasn't worked out because writing here is such an all-encompassing job. It's so demanding of your time that they were not able to like get to spots at night. And then they had to leave because they prioritized stand-up. So when he said that, I was like, all right, I'm not really sure that that's the right place.
So now with regards to your stand-up career, where do you stand on it today?
Man, that's a great question. I don't really know. All I can say is that I don't really miss it that much. I haven't performed in probably a month, maybe a little longer. I did go on the road to Kansas City and did a full weekend there, which was really fun. I loved it again and felt reinvigorated after that. But the old routine of, you do your work all day and then you get on a city bike and you bike over to the Stand and the New York Comedy Club and you're out doing spots from 7:30 till 10:30 p.m. I don't know, man. It just I don't really miss that much. And it's funny because I'm hesitant to even admit it, because in stand-up in New York, the moment you say like I have doubts that I want to be doing this, people like excommunicate you.
Huh.
They don't think you're part of the mix anymore. You're not one of us anymore. And it takes you so long to become part of that inner circle. And you have to stay with it by getting up and constantly showing face and hanging at the club hours upon hours. And I didn't miss that much.
Have you talked to fellow stand-ups about this feeling?
I have. And I'm very good friends with Shane Gillis. And, Shane is, to me, the next big stand-up star.
Okay.
I really believe that. And he's out, he's still out. He can't stop. Like it's he knows unequivocally that that's what he wants to do. And I envy that, but I'm also against his feelings and his certainty. It's even more clear to me that, I can't say that stand up for me is the end all be all. Like my dream, yes, originally was to be an arena comic or a theater comic, selling out, doing specials every year, all that. And now I have to say it's morphed. Like I might be just as happy, if not happier, to be, writing a TV show on Netflix, or starring in a TV show, or hosting a late night show, whatever. I'm open to the idea of different dreams.
Are there any particular dreams that stand out in your head of the things you just listed atop that list?
Well, I think some of them seem closer at hand than others. And I think that especially in the TV world, a series is something that really excites me right now. Whether I'm acting in it or not, or just producing it and writing for it and all of that, that is a very exciting thing. And the big reason is that it's a distinct possibility for me right now. I'm working on something, and
are you allowed to talk about it a little bit? Not really.
There have been rumors about it. People have talked about it. It's a show that I've created that is loosely based on some of the experiences that I've had over the last 5 years. But it's one of those things where it's like I don't want to talk about it because it could just die tomorrow.
Right.
It's so binary. It's either going to be the greatest thing that has ever happened to me in my life, or it's not going to be anything at all.
Does that stress you out?
It didn't for a long time because I was just convincing myself that it wasn't going to happen and betting against it and really committing my brain to the exercise of saying, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. But you cross a point where the pieces keep coming together and it keeps taking shape and more people get interested and more people buy in and names get attached and money gets figured out and contracts get signed. And all of a sudden you realize, if this doesn't happen, I will be heartbroken. And that's the way the entertainment industry works a lot of the time. And unfortunately, it just a switch was flipped where one day I woke up and I was like, we've come so far now that if this does not happen, I will be devastated. And I'm there. That's where I am. And unfortunately, I don't think that you can't even say that we're more likely for this show to happen now. I don't know that we can. I don't know what yard line we're on, but we're definitely not in the fucking red zone.
But what's still, I think, I've noticed in learning about your career and you is that regardless of those, I mean, you've had, I think, throughout your career, just big moments, like, and moments that sometimes for people could be incredibly debilitating, the whole Barstool thing. But you've always come back from it. You'll figure your shit out. You're a smart guy. Everyone says it to you, but you know that. But you like, I think that's at the end of the day the thing that reassures me as someone that it's now your friend that I that wants you to succeed. I think I have, at least from personally, and I think I speak for a lot of people, the utmost confidence that even if it's not this, something else, will present itself.
People say that, and I appreciate
not that is gonna give you any comfort, because I know you want it to succeed as much as before.
I think that I hope that when I'm 40 or 45, I will believe that too, because I will have had enough failures where they seemed like the end of the road, and then something else popped up. And then that happened, and then that failed. And then the work regenerates, right? To the point where you realize I can make a career out of uncertainty. Right. It's fine for me. I trust my own ability to come up with new ideas to make a living.
And you've done it for 10 years.
Well, I can't say that though, because for the first 5 years that I was in New York, maybe 6 years, I was tutoring, right? Okay. And I was doing stand-up, making no money in stand-up. And then I worked at Barstool, and I had a good career there. And then I got fired, and I thought, oh shit, my life is over. And then I got picked up by Bro Bible, and now, things are going great. However, I don't know that I can say that I've got enough of a groundwork laid that I trust the regeneration of opportunity if things fail.
But is that you being too hard on yourself, or is that you being objective?
Probably a little bit of both.
Right.
Here's what I mean, okay? First of all, there's no road back to tutoring or another job. I burned the ships. Okay. Do you know that story?
Tell it to me. Yeah.
I don't know. Some Greek mythology where, the idea was that the conquering force arrived at the shores of the city they intended to conquer. Okay. And then the leader of that army lit all of the ships on fire and burned them because he wanted to say to his troops, we are not retreating. Okay. You must win. And that's the only way forward. I'm ruining the road back. Okay. And it's a metaphor and whatnot. And, but for me, I didn't necessarily do it intentionally. I have just, there's too much content at this point of me on the internet, making dick jokes, talking about masturbation, talking about my drug use, that there is no parent in New York that would entrust me with the private education of their child. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And by extension, there is no law school that would accept my application. There's no business school. There's no investment banking firm. A lot of these roads that I might have had as, someone with a good college degree.
I might disagree, but okay.
I mean, it would be tough. It's tough to make the case at this point.
Okay.
Dude, there's too much. I've just said too much. I've said too much. I'm too transparent.
Okay.
But I'm at peace with that.
Okay.
Because I do think that once you can really dive into the pool, your work gets better.
Yeah.
Once you commit to this being your only thing, you get better because you become more honest, you become more transparent about yourself. Right. And I've taken that plunge. I took that the first year that I was at Barstool. I sold my soul, so to speak, right? So now it has to be in this realm that I work. Right. I don't know. Maybe I could get into porn. Like they wouldn't mind, that I had said those things. They'd be like, "Come on over. That's adjacent." But there's no other road. There's no road back to the other life.
Okay.
My dad doesn't run a company that I could go work for. Tutoring is dead. Becoming a teacher, dead. Right? Maybe you disagree.
Okay. But let's assume that that's true.
Yeah. Let's assume that that's true, right? So then it's only been 4 or 5 years that I have made a substantial living where I could pay my rent and put my, pay for my groceries and cover my credit card bills and live well in comedy.
Okay.
And that just isn't enough time yet for me to feel assured that if the work I have right now ends, or if a TV project doesn't happen, that I'll find the next thing.
Gotcha.
I don't have confidence in my regenerative ability yet. And I think I need another 5 jobs before I'll feel that way. Huh. Maybe never. But that lack of certainty is another thing that forces me to produce.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also, and you come from the competitive brand, I think, so it fuels you in a way.
Yeah.
Would you disagree?
I agree. And Beck Bennett on Saturday Night Live did an interview with Larry King. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I saw this, but there was one snippet that stuck with me. And it's when he said, "One thing I've learned is that you've never made it."
Yeah.
You've never made it. You get to the next level, but you have to continue to fight.
Right.
Like even Letterman, the king of late night, who would sign, a 5-year contract extension worth whatever, $200 million at CBS. Do you think that meant he could just go into cruise control and let the show run itself? No. He had to continue to fight because if he didn't, Conan and Kimmel and Fallon would just eat into his market share. And you have to come up with new ideas. You have to keep developing and keep inventing. And there's no rest in this industry.
And I think all great and successful people, regardless of industry, never feel that sense of satisfaction, or they'll never feel like I made it. You know what I mean? I don't think Letterman would even sit here today and tell you that he thinks he made it.
You have to wonder. I mean, once you get like the Mark Twain Prize.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Does
LeBron thinks he made it? Maybe to a certain extent, but for him, his standard is so different. His standard is maybe Jordan.
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah, he's trying to be one of one. He's trying to be the.
And I think that, but best. I think that you have that of. Look, I sit with a lot of successful people, a lot of people who've done a lot of great things. And a lot of the common theme that I always feel at certain times is I don't ever see you sitting here and telling me, yeah, I'm satisfied with all, like I'm good. I don't ever see you being 100% satisfied. I think there'll be times that you are satisfied, but I don't ever see you like sitting there and thinking you could hit cruise control.
True. But here's what I would say.
Okay.
There are pieces of my career, and I would point to stand-up, especially, where if stand-up comedy and live entertainment were never to return to the world because COVID just continued to mutate and we just couldn't have indoor gatherings or whatever. If it's dead, I look back on my stand-up career and I'm satisfied with it.
Good.
And that's largely because I filmed a special at the Wilbur Theater. And I'll always have that night where I had 2,000 people there who bought tickets, and I had an hour of material, and I got a good reception for it. Yeah. So that piece is, to me, if it's dead, it's complete. I don't want to say complete, but I'm satisfied. To me, that was a success, and I'm happy with it. But here's my question to you.
Okay.
Do you have a monetary number in your mind where if you were to make that amount of money in a year for your podcast or for any of the other projects or creative ideas that you've worked on or want to work on, what that number would be where you'd be like, holy shit, what a great year. I'm so happy I made that much. Like, what is that number to you?
That's a great question. I haven't thought about that. I still see, the way I see it is I'm still so early in everything.
Right
in my career, if you will. Like I still go to school. I'm still so I don't know if and I still, that's a good question.
So right now, my number is $500,000.
Okay.
If I made $500,000 in a year, right? Telling you right now today, I think I would be like, holy shit, what a year, right? But I also know that the year where I do make $500,000, I'm not going to be satisfied.
Oh yeah, I would put my house on it that's how you feel.
Exactly. So you reach these tiers, but by the time you've reached them, you've already looked way past.
Right. You'll be thinking
the
about
benchmark.
About why didn't I make $1 million, or when am I going to make that $1 million?
And you'll have forgotten that you ever set that as a goal in the first place.
But I think that's also part of that. I think is the mentality of someone who wants to do something memorable, that doesn't want to be average, that wants to be great.
Fine. But I also see this among my friends who just work for the sake of making money. Because there's always somebody that makes more money than you.
It's true.
And I have friends that are making, I have a friend this year who made $15 million.
Whew.
I'm serious,
Do you feel like he's happy?
I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know if because I feel like I've asked him that, and I don't know if he knows how to answer that or how to take stock of it. It's an obscene amount of money.
That's an absurd amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best traders on Wall Street, and he had a banner year trading on the volatility between April and May, or maybe it was March and April, brought on by COVID, and he's never going to want for money for the rest of his life. But the problem with having that friend is that all my other friends in finance, some of whom make $2 million a year, $600,000 a year, $800,000 a year, all of those numbers to me in comedy are bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas amounts of money. And those guys all feel like pathetic failures against the orders of magnitude higher that our friend, the trader, makes.
Isn't that crazy?
It's sad.
Yeah.
I am grateful that we are in a field where your success is not necessarily measured in your paychecks, in your bank statements.
And I think largely the opposite. I think a lot of comedians are successful and they're not being rewarded accordingly.
Right. I think that there are guys for whom if they got past at the Comedy Cellar, they would say, what a banner year. Right. All my dreams have been met. I think that there are people for whom it would be a late night appearance, for whom it would be, playing a theater or opening for a great comic or getting a phone call from Ellen DeGeneres. And I'm glad that there are multiple ways to feel validated in what we do. But I also think it's incredibly important to keep your mind open to the idea of feeling validated in ways that you didn't plan for.
Had you ever thought about these kinds of ideas pre-COVID, pre this summer, pre that slump, if you will?
Honestly, no. I think that I had this blind chase mentality of like, I need to get this and I need to get this by this year, and these are the things I need in order to feel like I'm moving forward. And I have become more cerebral and sort of trying to be more introspective and I guess take a bird's eye view of progress for myself, because it hasn't panned out the way that I thought. And for so long, I was just like holding on to this ride, this weird ride of my work. And once you're able to actually step away from it all and sort of say like, well, that was pretty cool, it allows you to, I guess, just feel better about what you're doing.
Do you feel like do you feel like you needed this? Do you see it as a wake up call?
I do think that I hate to be this guy, but I do think COVID has been good in many ways for my thought process.
Right.
It has forced me to reconsider what matters.
So what really matters for you?
Dude, my family.
Yeah.
No question. My family. My older sister just had a baby a month ago.
Wow.
And I got
you're an uncle.
I am. Brand new.
Congratulations.
Fresh
uncle.
Yeah. And, we were supposed to meet her at Thanksgiving, and we canceled Thanksgiving because things were crazy and my sister hadn't had the baby yet. So like we didn't want to expose her to multiple family members coming from different states and all of that. So we hung on until Christmas, and dude, I spent 4 days with her at Christmas, and I hate to sound, like this guy, but holding my niece, this brand new baby, was just like, it just said, it made me feel stupid for believing a lot of the things that I did before. I was like, why did I care about that? Or why did I care that troll said that comment to me? If you're ever hung up on haters responding to you on Instagram, hold a fucking baby.
Yeah.
Hold a baby you're related to, and it will instantly evaporate all the time you spent thinking about that.
I love that.
It's the ultimate anti-troll. It's the troll buster.
It's the troll buster.
And then you'll also think like, that troll wouldn't have said that if they had held a baby.
Or if they saw you hold the baby.
Someone needs to get a baby into the hands of that troll. Because they wouldn't be saying that if they could hold a baby.
How have you handled like over the years the different? I feel like you've had a different set of trolls. No, the Barstool trolls are a certain type.
That's usually what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
So there was one thing that I wanted to pick your brain at really quick. You said, I don't want to misquote you, but when you talked about going to Barstool, you said you sold your soul. Or I don't know if it was exactly like that. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I don't mean that, by the way. I don't mean that like against Barstool.
Right. I understand that. But because it's interesting that you say that, because I always thought like, okay, if Barstool called me tomorrow and they said, hey, we want to take your podcast or bring you on some capacity, I kind of always thought that the feeling that I might get from that, this is a complete hypothetical, this has never happened, would be in a weird way, like I would be selling myself to this company that is controversial, that and I think in a lot of ways oftentimes is misrepresented. But I'm curious, because you were on the inside, and if that would be accurate, or or how you feel about that?
So when I say that I sold my soul at Barstool, what I mean is that I had to decide to share personal elements of my life. And that once I did that, I started succeeding much more at the company.
Interesting.
Instead of just being a guy who blogged about, whatever happened in the locker room of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that weekend, or, making jokes all the time that are very surface level, I started writing about my neuroses and, interactions that I'd had with dates or family members, with trying to shield them a little bit, but failing to protect everyone, and being very transparent. And the moment I did that, I started connecting with an audience on a much deeper level and developing a stronger fan base, as opposed to just being a character.
Do you get that at Bro Bible as well?
I think Bro Bible is really great at yes, I have a similar outlet there to share my personal voice kind of, but I think at the same time, like, I have developed a fan base who kind of knows what to expect from me, and they will find my work at Bro Bible, and my goal is to like bring them to the site where they can find other writers and talented people that they like too. Whereas Barstool for me was a place to start from scratch and try to like foster a fan base and get people to know me and get to know people there.
So now, what's your daily schedule look like today? I mean, are your plans, if say there is a vaccine and all that, if comedy clubs reopen, to at least dabble a little?
I gotta go back, dude. I have to, if for no other reason than to make sure that it's not what I want to do. I can't close the book on that definitively.
It's not really something you ever have to be open or closed on.
Judd Apatow came up doing stand-up.
Right.
He made his early career as a 16-year-old interviewing the famous comedians of the day. And he wrote a great book about it. It's sort of like a collection of his transcribed interviews from his youth, where he's interviewing, Seinfeld and other like legendary people. Right. And he's 16 years old. And he was doing that, and he was doing stand-up. And then I think in his early 20s, he started to get some success as a writer and director, Freaks and Geeks, stuff like that. And he stopped doing stand-up. And then he didn't do it for like 20 years. Wow. And then he came back to it in his 40s and found a renewed love for it. And that was like kind of when he was ready to dive back in. I'm not saying I'm going to take 20 years off, but I think that example lets me know that it's kind of okay to come in and out of stand-up.
Are you still writing jokes or content or material?
Yes, I am. But I'm also writing more stuff that's that's less stand-up-y and is more, like, I want to say like world building-y, or, laying an outline for a movie or a potential novel, or, it's just more long-form stuff. The thoughts play out less set-up punchline.
Have you enjoyed that more?
I enjoy that these ideas are met with more excitement by people with power.
Okay.
Like there just seems to be a quicker road in this world to success and paychecks. I hate to say that.
No, but it's honest.
Yeah.
But which part of your workday would you say you enjoy the most, though? Just raw enjoyment.
You know what I really love doing are these parking videos.
I wanted to bring that up.
I really like doing these parking videos that I've been doing.
They're great.
Thank you.
I saw the one where you got the ticket.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate.
That was probably the worst one, though, because there was nobody on the street that day. The best part is interacting with the people on the street and trying to really showcase the anxiety and the chaos.
Well, I just read a New York Times, I don't know if you saw it, there was a New York Times article about the exceedingly, what is it? There's so many cars and tickets and all that.
Yeah, basically, when the restaurants opened up a lot of these outdoor dining places, that the city gave them, a lot of space on the sidewalk or the bus lane or whatever that might be used for parking.
Right.
So a lot of the parking spaces have disappeared, and so with fewer parking spaces and more people needing cars, the demand for parking in New York has reached a hysterical level, which translates to people getting angry very quickly.
So where did the alternate side parking idea come from?
My girlfriend had a coworker who one day she had expressed via some, Slack chat, how hard it was for us to find parking on the street in New York, and was wondering if everyone was just paying the $500 a month for a parking garage thing. And one of her coworkers said that every week he and his wife or whatever took turns sitting in their car from 9 to 10:30 during the window when the street sweeper comes. That allows you to not get a ticket. And if you sit in your car, you wait for the street sweeper to come.
And you get your spot.
He comes, everyone pulls out into the street, he cleans, and then you re-parallel park and you take back your spot. And then I did it. I decided to try it for the first time. And I just started shooting some Instagram stories of it. And it was very kind of raw and I didn't know what was going on. And I put up like 6 or 7 stories, including when the sweeper came, which was terrifying because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know the process. And there is a process. And most people get it, but a bunch don't. And all it takes is one person who doesn't know what they're doing to fuck the whole thing up. And then you also get people coming in to try to prey upon those people and steal spots. And so I took this and I got a bunch of DMs from people being like, yo, this is wild. What is this? And then my manager was like, why the hell did you not post that as a full post? This is one of the funniest things I've seen you do. And I was like, all right, next week I'll do a full one. And then the next week I just did a bunch of clips. I sent it over to my editor to kind of cut. Yeah. And if you go back and watch the first one, since then, it's developed.
They get better each week.
So much where like now I know the guy who drives the street sweeper and he's become a character. And, I know people on the street. I have like terms I use and, there's just, I get it. So I have a very good understanding of how it works now. And it's very fun to try to capture it. And it changes every week because you never know what's going to happen.
But it's always every Thursday.
Every Thursday, yeah. Alternate side parking Thursdays.
I love it. I mean, it's one of those things that you don't even expect, but who knows? Maybe it could turn into a little sketch one day or something.
This is the thing about comedy and social media where, it seems like everything that I thought would work in my career didn't. And then the things that I didn't think would work.
What did you think? What did you think would work, and that didn't?
I once tried to do a series of makeup tutorials, spoofing all these YouTube stars who do these makeup tutorials, and I thought that me doing bad makeup tutorials, not knowing what I was doing, would be funny. It wasn't that great, right? But I thought that would be hysterical. And then one day I sat down at my piano during the final season of Game of Thrones and just like sang to the theme song of Game of Thrones what I thought would happen on the episode that night in 1 minute. And those videos started blowing up. Wow. And I'm like, really? This is what they like? Instead of the highly produced makeup tutorials? So it's like Game of Thrones songs, right? Alternate side parking Thursdays. I don't know. I'm just throwing shit at the wall. I have no idea what's going to work. And it's terrifying.
Is it? Isn't it kind of exciting too?
It is exciting. It's really exciting when you find something that works. But it also leaves you vulnerable to try something that could either not work or get you in huge trouble. But I think which is exactly what happened at Barstool.
That's true. But, right.
And everyone's like, you should have known better. And it's like, dude, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have not known what I'm doing since the moment I started this. I don't know what's funny. I don't know what's funny. I don't know what people will think is funny from me. So I'm guessing. And you hope that your hits go from like 10% to 20. You just want to increase your hit rate. But I don't know. What, like tomorrow I'll shoot a video and people will fucking hate it. And then the next day I'll be like, well, maybe this will work. And all of a sudden it'll go viral. And you're like, why? I have no idea.
That's something. Now, going back to to wrap things up, going back to your question on when you asked me what that big number would be, where I would feel like I made it. For you, not number, but say, because I feel like even in the years since I've seen you, there's been a lot of changes, obviously, to the world, but even for you, like career-wise, the way you view it, trajectory. In 5 years, if there was a place or a thing that were to happen in your career that you would say, I'm satisfied, and of course, maybe 10 years down the line, that would change, what would it be?
All right. So before COVID, I would have had a very different answer.
Right.
But, and this is going to sound sappy. Right now, my answer to that question is that in 5 years, if I am working in a job in comedy that makes me laugh, that relies on me contributing ideas and coming up with new ideas, that pays me a salary that allows me to like take my wife out to dinner once a week and take my family on a vacation for a week of the year, and gives me the option to put my kids through private school if we so choose, and not necessarily worry about their college tuition someday. Not have it answered, but like I'm contributing to their college fund. And I've got health care. And I know that the next year, it's very likely that job will continue. To me, that would be success in 5 years.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but I'm not there yet.
Hey, but it gives you something every day to...
It does. But that's a very amorphous goal. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like, that's so broad.
But that's okay. Because you have, especially from what you're describing, again, I'm hearing it from the outside looking in, there are people that are noticing. And I can tell that, I don't even need you to tell me those stories for me to know that there are people that are noticing. People follow you on Instagram. People react to you. People like your podcast. I mean, you even see some of your like there's some tweets that go really viral. There are people that notice what you're doing. And I think that whether you don't know exactly what way you're going to go, or if it's right or left or comedy or not comedy, things are happening. Yeah. I believe so. And I don't know. And I think again, going back to that, to listening to you open up about, where you were mentally and the little things that have happened, even in just the last 6 months, it's really, I think, first of all, I thank you just as a fan too, to see someone that you respect in, I mean, I would say you're in multiple fields, podcasting, comedy, whatever, to open up about that, but also to realize like, man, like people probably look to you as someone who has all their shit together, and you might feel like you don't. And I think that's beautiful.
Dude, yes. Thank you. It's very frustrating to not feel like you have your shit together, and to be as uncertain about your future
I feel the same
as
way.
I am.
Yeah.
As a young person, your 20s are fucking hard, dude. You gain more certainty as you get older, but that uncertainty and that confusion it's scary, disorienting. You just feel like it's never gonna fucking materialize.
Right.
Julio on the podcast, my co-host, said once like that when he was 24, when he was 29, someone said to him, "Oh wow, you're about to enter your money-making years." And at the time he was like,
That's the worst thing to say.
But he couldn't understand what that meant. Because up to that point, he had lived paycheck to paycheck, right? And he'd like scraped by. And the amount of kind of just like improvising and trying to do a commercial here and maybe doing some tennis lessons there and getting a little bit of money from opening for some guy. And you know, you kind of barely make rent for like 6 years, month after month. And all of a sudden you find that you've got a little bit more leisure in your bill pay. You finding that you can buy yourself a nice thing and not like worry about what you're going to have to sacrifice for it. And I don't know where that comes from. You just get better at making money. Most people do, not everybody. But if you're smart and you learn along the way, you should. So yeah, but at the same time, dude, like I live in constant uncertainty and fear that and part of this is that I got fired, right? Kind of like out of the blue one day, which I caused, but the day before, I never would have thought that I was going to get fired the next day, right? So once that happens, every day I think I'm going to get fired today. That never leaves me.
That's interesting.
I have no certainty in my job. I don't feel like I have job security in any work that I do. And not only that, but I unfortunately am constantly waiting for that tweet from someone who digs something up from my past, some soundbite or some, you know, thing that hasn't aged well where I was trying to be funny and it comes up. And by that point, I'm big enough that people care and then they get angry and I'm fucked. I'm just waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you try to inoculate yourself against it. You go through your Twitter history and you search your own keywords and you're like, well, good. I've never said, you know, the N-word and I've never said any gay epithets. I've not been racial. I've not been misogynistic. I've scrubbed it all, whatever. And you think you're clean, but then it's like someone finds the clip of you on someone's podcast from 5 years ago where you chimed in when they were making crazy jokes. And you're like, you're just trying to be in the and it's not as, you know, who knows what it'll be.
Right.
Because in 5 years
it'll change. Yeah.
That it's changed what people care about. And so to me, it's not even necessarily a question of whether or not I've said something. It's a question of whether or not I'm big enough for people to want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a scary way to,
doesn't that suck? Like with success, let's say that right now I'm in this safe zone because I'm not successful enough for people to do their homework, to sleuth around to find that misspoken thing. But the more successful I get, the more people will commit time to combing through my record, through my efforts, through my throwing shit at the wall, trying to be funny all these years, not knowing. And they'll find something, for sure.
Does that affect the way you operate on a daily basis?
I mean, at the very least, I'm aware now.
Right.
So I am constantly operating as though I'm under a microscope.
Right. What's that feel like?
It's fine. It's fine. It's just challenging. I'm not blaming these people. Like from now on, I get it, right? And part of me thinks that that's fair. You enter the big leagues, you've got to just be more accurate.
Right.
You have to be better. But I also hope, because it's not going to be, I'm not going to get canceled for something that happened after I got fired from Barstool until, from this point forward. I will get canceled for something that I did when I was 23, 24, something I wrote, some joke, something I said on a tiny podcast in someone's garage, that's what'll come up.
But at the same time, it's like that person who wants to cancel you for that, smart enough people can realize what's going on. I believe.
You think that.
You think that. You hope that.
You hope that. But
I guess
people
you're right.
don't care about context. Dude, think about the Villanova basketball player who, after they won the national championship, he was like the guy came in and he's got some funky name, Vander something. He's now in the NBA. He unbelievable basketball player. Sorry, I can't remember his name. Anyway, this guy, they win the national championship. He's the star. This was a couple years ago.
DiLorenzo?
DiVincenzo.
Yeah,
that's
DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that guy, right, the day after they won the national championship, people dragged up tweets that he'd written when he was like
I think I remember
14, 13, 15, where he was like, I think he might have said the N-word as a quote of a rap song. Listen, I've never been stupid enough to do that, fortunately. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily defending it, but they didn't care that he was 14 when he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I was so stupid when I was 14. I would just light shit on fire. That was my idea of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see what can burn. Let's go out to a parking lot behind the ice rink and take a can of Axe body spray and create flamethrowers. Thank God I still have my face, right?
Yeah.
Against that level of stupidity. Right. Is it really a surprise that a young kid didn't understand that saying the N-word as a quote in a tweet or thinking it was cool, that happened? Must we say that he's the same man now after a year of college that he was when he wrote that tweet when he was 14? Why don't we care about the context? Why don't we care about the age? And that's what's going to happen. It'll be something I did when I was 23, when I was 24. I didn't have Twitter when I was 18, thank God. But something I did back then that once I achieve a level of success, they will say, they're waiting. They may even have it already. They may just be waiting for the time when I've got my big announcement.
But if you live in that sense of paranoia, it's gonna kill you. It's gonna eat you.
It eats at me every fucking day.
But Francis, you're gonna drive yourself. You're gonna drive yourself hitting your head against the wall all day if you think this way.
Well, I don't know how to divorce myself from those feelings.
Because then you're also going to be scared to be successful. Maybe you already are.
Let's put it this way: I'm moving forward as though it's not going to happen, but I'm constantly preparing myself for it, so that when it does happen, if it does happen, I'm not going to kill myself.
Please don't.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though?
No, I do.
And I know it's very fatalistic.
Right.
And it sucks because it's the equivalent to looking over your shoulder constantly.
Right.
But
I understand what you're saying.
It's the internet, dude. I don't know. These are faceless wraiths who are just spending hour after hour in Reddit threads.
But I think it's good that you're talking about it because, to hear it from someone who you have the platform now that people... This is a reality of people like you that go through this, that have to worry about, and I also think it's detrimental to your content because then you start filtering yourself, and no one wants to. And at the end of the day, no one really wants to hear. I think every true fan of yours does not want to hear you filter yourself. So I think it's good at least that people can now listen to what it's like for someone like you who writes for different things. To hear what it's like.
Fine. But at the same time, to credit that fear, to credit those people, the effect that they've had on me, yes, they've made me terrified.
Okay.
But they've also
what have they done?
Made me less lazy. Right? So for years... I was somebody who, unfortunately, I would make lazy jokes. Mm-hmm. I would use the word, maybe I'd make a lesbian joke, like a Subaru, lesbians drive, whatever. I would fall prey to, I would do that shit because I didn't know any better. I wasn't good enough, right? And maybe I would make lazy jokes based on stereotypes. of Asian Americans or of black people or whatever it was. And by knowing now that those are the things that would crush me, it forced me to get better. My humor now doesn't rely on stereotypes. Right. I don't use them. It doesn't rely on just like broad truisms. I've gotten rid of things from my act that I thought would get a lazy laugh, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes you more precise. And I'm frankly prouder of the work that I'm putting out now because I feel like I'm doing it the right way, or at least in a way that, you know, I'm not worried about.
Is there a big difference for you see in not needing to be like political correctness, right? There's a difference, I think, from what you're saying than being politically correct. Would you agree with that? Or do you think that now you have to always be politically correct?
I think that comedians rail against political correctness as a crutch a lot of the time. And I think that, you know, the great comedians can be politically incorrect and get away with it because they're doing it with a mastery that even the people who get mad about political correctness have to say, it made me laugh.
I would say like a Dave Chappelle.
Bill Burr.
Right, Bill Burr.
Bill Burr's latest special was all about women.
I know.
It was, the whole thing was about women. And they were jokes where, like, if you read the transcript of that act, you'd be like, holy shit, someone said that? And yet, you can't stop from acknowledging how funny it is.
And brilliant and smart.
Exactly.
And smart.
It's smart. It's not lazy. Dave Chappelle's transgender jokes are not lazy.
Exactly.
That whole
100%.
thing about riding in the car with the LGBTs, it's such a brilliant construct and illustration of gender and identity. Right. And it's not lazy. It's not saying like, wow, fuck these people who care about their bathroom choice. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? It's not lazy.
Right.
So it's harder to get mad when people display a level of mastery and precision where you're like, well, at the very least, they worked hard to be ignorant.
Right.
I don't know. Does that make sense, kind of?
So I guess that's interesting because I think a lot of us, especially I would say a lot of kids my age too, are starting to go against this cancel culture. And I think generally speaking, people who have something going on in their head are against canceling people for the sake of canceling people. But I do think it's interesting to hear from your perspective now that for someone who's the one creating the content, to hear that you are not, that it has forced you to not be lazy. And I think that is a good byproduct of this cancel culture in a sense.
Yes, it is. You know, one thing that I've actually been encouraged by is that for a long time, you know, straight white male comedians would say that they were the ones who were being targeted, right? The most. And I don't know, there may have been some truth to that, right? But then the cancel mob started coming after Dave Chappelle, Dina Hashem for making jokes about XXX Tentacion's death, Kathy Griffin for holding up a severed head of Donald Trump, women, Kevin Hart, people of color, women, people of all sorts of different sexualities. It didn't matter anymore necessarily who said the joke. It was that they said it at all. And once there was that sort of like attacking of the full rainbow of comedians, it fortified comedians in a solidarity of like, now it's not just you're coming after free speech in general and we need to stick together on this. And I think it also made everyone reconsider like who's allowed to make fun of what. You know what I mean? Like, are gay people the only people who can make jokes about gay people? Do they have the monopoly on that humor? Are Asian Americans the only one who can make fun of that? Because that's boring. if everyone is simply stuck in their own lane, if they are only allowed to operate along the cards that they've been dealt, that's fucking boring. Nobody would want to hear me on stage only making jokes about what it's like to be a white guy.
Yeah.
That you hear comics do that. Like, I'm so white that I go to the Whole Foods. Fucking boring, dude. That's boring.
Right.
Now, that doesn't give me license to all of a sudden write a joke about what it's like to be black or gay or any of that. But
it's raised the mastery level. I think that's ultimately what it is.
I feel that I have access to those things. I just know that I need to be way more precise if I'm going to do it.
And it raises the level. I mean, I guess it's raised the level. And I think when like those people hit that, like when a Bill Burr makes that women joke in Paper Tiger, there's an appreciation level.
Yeah.
That then comes from it.
Right. I mean, you look at it and you're like,
he's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. And also you're like, well, I get why he can do it and I can't. Because he wrote it in a way that I'd never considered. To me, a great example is like, his joke about like, there's no excuse to hit a woman. Have you heard that?
It wasn't in that special?
A couple of specials ago.
Okay. Maybe.
The thesis for the joke is him trying to justify domestic violence. Okay. Right? And the audacity to try to unpack that. Yeah. Most people would say there's no way. Yeah. There's no way you can do that.
Straight white male's going to talk about domestic assault.
Yeah.
A joke about it.
And yet, he does it in a way where by the end, I think even the women in the audience would say, like, one, funny, and two, fair.
That's why he's a legend.
Yeah. The other one would be the one that I think it makes more sense is the the first ladies of America.
Oh yeah.
And sort of discrediting their work.
Right.
Right, where he's like, Michelle Obama is writing a book. What's that going to be about? Like how to know whether a dick is presidential. And it's unbelievable. But he softens it by throwing the bone to the women at the end by saying at some point we're going to have the first female president. And that will mean there's a first male first lady. And if he tries to speak up, you're going to tell him to shut the fuck up. And that's fair. And it just, it frames it all.
I know.
To make it fair. But most people don't see that the whole field that way. Yeah. Most comics don't. They would just end with the first part.
Huh. Do you talk about this stuff behind the scenes with comics? Like this particular...
Not really. I haven't been hanging out with comedians as much. Maybe that's why I'm so much happier. I swear to God,
it could be.
There's a soul-sucking group of people, man. It is a race to the bottom.
I can imagine.
A competition for the saddest story. Everywhere you go, really? Every fucking comics table at every comedy club. Who's had the worst week?
Yeah. Maybe it's that. Either way. I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
That was fun, man.
It is fun. It's
what a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming back. And I'm excited to see where it all goes. Because I'm confident that you're gonna figure your shit out.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
If there's anyone that can, it's you. That's the truth, I think.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on again. What an insightful. I always get going on this thing. I
love it.
I don't know. We just probably talked for like a long
hour
time.
45, hour 50.
Damn.
Beautiful. Wow. I love it. Francis Ellis, everyone.
Thanks for having me. Hey, check out Oops the podcast.
And what is it? Francis C.C. Ellis on Instagram. Yeah. Francis C. Ellis on Twitter.
Take a look at those parking videos. Those are fun.
Those are fun. Yeah. Those are on your Instagram. Mm-hmm. Your website? What, francisellis.com?
Yeah, you find everything there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks,
cool.
brother.
Thanks, Felix.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.